So we're looking at our 7A notes. So these notes are about solving two-step equations, and you're going to notice that today what we're focusing on is equations that have division to start with. So our equation steps are still that we take care of addition or subtraction first. That's the first thing that we're going to take care of. And then our second is always undoing the multiplication or division. So with our first equation, I have x being divided by 5, and then I have minus 8 equals 4. So my first step is going to be undoing the addition or subtraction. So I want to get rid of that minus 8. So I'm going to do that by adding 8 to both sides. So addition and subtraction are my inverse operations. So I want to add 8 on both sides. Minus 8 plus 8 makes a 0. So I am left with x divided by 5 equals, on the other side, 4 plus 8 makes 12. So now that I have x being divided by 5, I need to multiply each side by 5. So if I have division, my inverse operation is multiplication. And I would show that by writing 5 and times in front, and then a times 5 at the end. So I think that this division multiplication step is still tricky for a lot of people. One thing that might help is to put the 5 over 1 and then think about how when I'm multiplying straight across. So we're doing 5 times x and 1 times 5. So we have 5x divided by 5. Over here, 12 times 5 is 60. And if I have a 5x being divided by 5, if I divide and multiply by that, it's just a 1. And 1x means that x is by itself. So I get x is equal to 60. To show my answer check, I would go over here and I would take my final answer and I would put it back into the original problem and show it works. So this is going to be 60 divided by 5 minus 8 equals 4. And I'm checking to make sure that this is correct. So let's see, 60 divided by 5 is 12. 12 minus 8, does that equal 4? And I didn't mean to write 14 there, just 4. 4 equals 4, our answer checks. On the next one, I have x divided by negative 2 plus 3 equals 7. So if I want to undo addition, I need to subtract 3 on each side. So on each side of the equation, sometimes we draw that line down. You don't need to, but I think sometimes it's helpful. I would write a minus 3. Plus 3 minus 3 makes a 0. So now I have x divided by negative 2 equals 7 minus 3 is 4. So it's like I'm undoing the operation over here, and then on the other side, I have that little mini math problem. So because my x is being divided by 2, I need to do the inverse and multiply. So I'm going to multiply each side by negative 2. I want the negative and the 2 to both go away. So I'm going to write down a negative 2 and a times here, a times negative 2 on the other side. I'm not going to show all that work this time like I did on the last one. I know if I multiply by negative 2 and I divide by negative 2, it makes a 1x. And so my x is by itself. 4 times negative 2 is a negative 8. So then I'm going to go over and check my answer again. So that means instead of this x here, x divided by negative 2, I'm going to have negative 8 divided by negative 2. And then plus 3 equals 7. So when I write something this way, remember I'm just dividing. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Negative divided by negative is positive. So I do have a positive 4 plus 3. And that's 7. So I get 7 equals 7. My answer checks again. On the next one, let's see, I have subtraction to undo again. So that means I'm going to add 2 to each side. So now I have x divided by negative 4 equals negative 6. You don't have to draw that line through it, but you're certainly, if you want to, go for it. But it does zero out. And now that I have x being divided by negative 4, I need to multiply each side by negative 4. So negative 4 times negative 4. So this is going to make a 1. So 1x is x. Negative 6 divided by negative 4 is a positive 24. So now let's go ahead and check our answer. So let's see, does positive 24 divided by negative 4 minus 2 equal negative 8? This is what we're checking now. So 24 divided by negative 4. So positive divided by negative is a negative. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So I have negative 6 minus 2. And because I'm subtracting, I want to do that keep flip change. I'm going to keep the -6, change this to plus and this one to a negative. So I'm adding the opposite. I'm adding a negative. -6 plus -2. When I add two that are the same sign, it's still negative, but it'll be a -8. So it works again. And our last problem, ix divided by 3 plus 7 equals -5. So the way to undo addition is to subtract. So we're subtracting 7 on both sides. X divided by 3 equals -5 minus 7 is -5 plus -7. That makes a -12. So then I would want to multiply both sides by 3. And that gives me a 1x. So the 7 minus 7 gives me a 0. 3 divided by 3 gives me a 1. So I have a 1x, or x by itself, equals -36. And you know what? I didn't say right over here with the words. We want to multiply each side by 3. So our last step is going to be an answer check. So -36 divided by 3 plus 7, does that equal -5? So 36 divided by 3 is 12. And negative divided by positive is negative. And if I have different sign, I subtract. 12 minus 7 is 5. The negative is bigger, so it'll be a negative. And it works again. So I am leaving you with the pick 3. So you should be working on your pick 3 right now. And just to give you an idea of what our answer should be, it looks like this one should be 42. So you are showing the work, but these should be your answers. On this one, we should get a -12. Over here, we should have an 8. Let's see, this one should be a +16. And the last one, we should have, oh goodness, this one's a little bit trickier. -18 times 4, doing my math down here where you can't see. It looks like the last one should be 72. So hopefully I have these answers right. I just did these really quick in my head, but it'll allow you to check over your own answers. Remember, you are showing work for credit. This is just so that you can test yourself and make sure you're doing things correctly. So good luck working on your own today, and make sure to ask me questions when I'm back tomorrow.